We've got some
Hey,
fresh new
I'm
young
Luis.
talent
And
doing
I'm
some things
Luis.
that I
And
know
you're
you
listening to the
haven't heard
Content is
before.
Profit podcast.
We spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit.
If you'd like to learn how to turn that content into profit, go to contentisprofit.com. Yeah, I saved that one.
What a recovery, guys. And
Yes.
today, how to get your big win.
That's right, guys.
I can't wait.
I can't wait. I want to get big wins every single day. Is that
Every
possible?
single
We're
day.
going to find out today.
That's right.
FONZI, who's our sponsor today?
That's right. You changed it a little bit. Good job.
Just a
Good
little
job.
tiny bit, yeah.
Today's sponsor is your own BIZBROS
Yeah.
with content momentum.
That's right,
And
guys.
you might be asking yourself, what is content momentum? Well, if you produce long form content just like this one that you're listening to or watching, and you want to turn it into value packed bite sized assets, so then you can send it into social media so they can get clients for you. Well, guess
so
what?
good.
We are here to help you out. We want to do all that just for you. So
That's right,
slide
guys.
in the DMs at BIZBROSCO on Instagram, on Facebook. Let's get started.
Sweet. After you slide into those DMs, make sure to make sure to not forget to subscribe.
There we
you
go.
go.
Smash it.
Easy peasy. Smash the subscribe button. Let's go. Sweet. And follow us on social media at BIZBROSCO.
That's right. I mean, I would assume if you're sliding in the DMs, you're already following us, but
Just
you never
saying.
know.
Just saying.
And if you find this episode impactful, which I am sure you will, please don't forget to share it and leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
That's right. First of all, we need to give credit where credit is due. So thank you, Podmax, for connecting us to today's guest. Awesome. Wow.
To today's guest, awesome
Awesome
guest.
guest.
Yeah, I just realized I spelled that twice.
All right, let's restart that. First of all, we need to give credit where credit is due. So thank you, Podmax, for connecting us to today's awesome guest. He's not only official partner of Podmax, but if podcasting had belts, he would definitely be a black belt.
Oh, what a coincidence. So funny you mentioned that because today's guest is a 2nd degree black belt in martial arts. I think that talks to the discipline he has. That's not an easy feat, just so you know. Just like the 350 episodes that he has done in podcasts. Actually, more than 350.
More than 350. So
Yeah.
that's right. He's a master of consistency and at helping others find their own awesomeness. He's also a speaker, an Amazon #1 best-selling author, and top-rated Udemy course creator.
Is there anything this guy can do? That's the line right there.
I was trying to think. I'm like, is there anything really that this guy
Yeah,
can't do?
I know. I'm so excited. Can't wait for this conversation. Please welcome host of the One Big Win podcast and the podcasting sensei,
Whoosh.
Larry Roberts.
Hey!
Welcome, Larry.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Dude, Larry, let me just say, I want to say this publicly. You have a sexy voice.
That's nice.
Dude,
You do. I have those thoughts too since PodMax, since we heard you. I'm like, man, this guy was born to be a podcaster. Absolutely.
You guys have got so much pressure put on me right now. I gotta sound sexy. I gotta know what I'm talking about. I gotta be energetic. Man, the pressure's on.
Hey, after we heard you were a black belt, we're like, he can handle anything, so we're throwing everything at you.
Bring it. Bring it.
Dude, Larry, it since we connected with you, it's been amazing, and we connected on a call a few maybe like a few weeks back. Can't remember now, but I'm like, man, we have to bring him on. We have to share his story. We know some other podcasters that have you on the show, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait to dive in. So thank you again for making some time and coming to Content is Profit, man. It's an honor.
It's all my pleasure, man. I tell you what, just sitting here trying to keep up with you guys. I thought I was energetic and I thought I was wild, but watching that intro, I started having to catch my breath. But,
Me too.
I love being here, and I know we're going to have a really, really great episode.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I'm sure of that, Larry. And, for those that are listening and they're asking themselves, who is Larry? Which, if you're asking yourself, I'm already mad at you because you already should know who Larry is. But Larry, who are you, right? What is your story? Where are you coming from? And what led you to this amazing world of podcasting?
Well, it all started back in 1972. And that's when it started for real. I'm 48 years old. I love podcasting and long walks on the beach. And I tell you, man, podcasting is something that allows me to create, to be energetic, to be myself. And that was one of the craziest things that brought me into podcasting. When I started podcasting, I didn't have business aspirations. I just had creative aspirations. People had been trying to get me to listen to the Joe Rogan podcast forever. And I'm like, no, I'm not listening to that. Podcasts are stupid. That's dumb. I don't have time for that, blah, blah, blah. Then I finally broke down and I listened. And to hear what these guys were saying and the language they were using to say it blew my mind. And I said, whoa, so I can be as creative as I want and there's no repercussions. I mean, I can say that word, and it turned out, yes, you can. However, there are repercussions. Just let me feed that in there. Whether you like it or not, it's going to come back and bite you. Yeah. But that was pretty much it, man. It was the creativity and just the freedom that podcasting allows, and that's why I believe, especially this year, it's exploded into a massive undertaking with literally millions of people. There, what do you know? 1.6 million podcasts that are out there right now, and it's growing every day. The stats look like they're increasing by well over 100,000 new podcasts every month.
Wow!
So it is the opportunity to get in while the getting's good.
Absolutely. By the way, like if you're one of those 100,000 podcasts every single day, contact a month. It's okay. I'm gonna say a day. Just contact us. We can help you with your content. Just saying. Okay. Shameless plug in there, dude.
You know what? And I'm gonna build on that because I agree with you 100%. You can help those podcasters. Let me put it in perspective. And somebody like you guys helping the podcasters would change this statistic. Although we've got about 1.6 million podcasts out there, roughly only 400,000 of them are active, meaning they posted an episode in the last 60 days. Now, if they didn't have to create the content, edit the content, and post the content and do everything, what are the odds that their shows would still be going? What are the odds that if they had somebody like you guys doing the editing for them, preparing their episodes for them, preparing their social media for them, that they would keep podcasting?
Dude, thank you so much. By the way, we didn't ask Larry to do this. I appreciate you, man. we can talk about that later. But dude, like, I'm very interested. I mean, you have more than 350 episodes. I mean, talk about a top producer in this space, right? I mean, to do 350 of anything, like, takes a ton, right? You know, we used to drag our feet to do 350 touches in soccer, which was something that we loved, right? So consistency is like this thing that is not easy to find, I feel like. Some people struggle with, you know, unless you're me and you like a ton of YouTube videos, and then you dive into
he's very consistent at watching YouTube videos. That is for sure. Absolutely.
But you know, we seem to like stay away from consistency when it's something that does good for us, and especially like if we start producing content like you do, you know, create amazing relationships. So tell me a little bit, like why podcasting? Like why this medium? Like a little bit of your backstory. I understand you don't have like these crazy easy pass, right? Like you dealt with some challenges along the way, and then you found podcasting as a way to escape that. Is that correct?
100%. And it helped keep me focused and realigned in the direction that I needed to be after coming out of rehab. You know, one of the toughest times of my life was I became an alcoholic, and it controlled my life for years and years and years. But eventually, back on 11/14 of 2013, matter of fact, you can see I just had another anniversary, and it's not something that I keep up with. It just happens to be that time.
Yeah.
But I went in and spent about 7 weeks in rehab and about another week in the hospital, and come out a changed man. And I needed something. I needed an outlet. I needed a venue to create, to be heard, to just take my attention and put it in a positive direction. And as I mentioned, with listening to Joe and being inspired by what I heard there, started a podcast. And the first podcast wasn't a business podcast. It was a comedy podcast. Yeah. I had a co-host who's crushing it now, by the way. He's on tour with Eddie Griffin right this second, touring the country, doing live comedy. Jamie Gravy is his name. So what's up, Jamie? Great to have you on board in the early days. And we just chased it. We chased our comedic dreams. We had a live show that we turned it into. We took it to the stage. That turned into an open mic night, and it's still running to this day. We took it to an online radio station. We went from number 32 or 33 on their lineup up to number 5 in like 6 weeks. I mean, we were crushing it with this show.
So good.
However, it was a little blue. And by blue, you know, if you're familiar with the term in comedy, blue means you got some bad words in there, maybe some adult type content. And that wasn't very conducive to a long-term plan. I loved podcasting so much, and I knew this is where I needed to go with my career. This is where my life was going to go. This was it. I'd finally found another outlet post martial arts, right? Because I haven't trained in a while. But I finally found an outlet that I loved as much. And I changed from the original podcast to more of a success story podcast called Readily Random.
Yeah.
And Readily Random, I just rebranded that. I've been live now for 23 days on One Big Win. So
let's go.
It's been tremendous. It's been an awesome ride. Dude, I've met so many cool people. And you know, I finally learned that podcasting, one of the greatest rewards from podcasting is the relationships that you establish when you're a podcaster.
Yeah.
I've met so many people and established real quality friendships with so many people since I started podcasting that I would have never even had the chance to talk to them, much less have them in my life as a friend. And that's one of the most rewarding aspects of it all.
Dude. Thank you for sharing like all of that. I think it's incredible. I think your story is a testament to start, right? Like you started at a place where you didn't really know where that was going to go, right? And then you started tackling these amazing opportunities. And then one day you're like, hey, you know, it's time for us to change, to evolve, right? And that's okay. And I feel like a lot of people trying to dive into content and content production or launching a show, they get so hung up on, you know, is this going to be my final product? Is this going to be like my final thing, right? I know we did, right? Like first 5 episodes that we recorded like in FONZI's bedroom with the lights, and it just looked like a very different set. You know, and those episodes are in the vaults, right? Yeah. And we're probably not going to release them because like it was a concept very different, and it was a lot of friction, right? But the day we started in that corner right there. So if you're watching the video, like I'm sitting in the corner where the superheroes are, just like this little round table, the camera right in front of us, and the content has evolved, the relationship has evolved, the framework has evolved. Yeah. But because we started just like you did, right? You know, now we're very proud to say that we're more than 100 episodes, right? You are very proud to say that you are more than 350 episodes with amazing relationships. We can say the same. So I hope this serves as a push forward for those thinking that, hey, should I publish, right? Because you're a testament of that success. So thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah, definitely.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Go ahead.
No, Larry. The stage is yours, my man.
I know you guys love the stage, so I don't want to steal your shine.
We can share it. It's fine. You know,
what I was going to mention there was that, you know, it hasn't just ended with having One Big Win as my podcast. I went from alcoholic to podcaster, and as of January 4th, 2021, podcasting will be my full-time job. I'm leaving my career to do podcasting full-time.
Let's go. Yes. That is so exciting, Larry. That is so exciting.
It can happen, folks. It can happen.
That's it. That's incredible. It makes me extremely happy to hear that. That is, wow, absolutely mind-blowing. And something that you mentioned at the very beginning, you say you started with a creative aspiration and not a business aspiration, right? But look at what it turned out, right? Now, in January 4th, 2021, is going to be your full-time, I don't want to say job, right? It is your full-time passion now.
There you go. I'll take passion, but I don't want to call it a job.
Yeah, exactly. and that's, for me, I think that is extremely exciting because a lot of things, I feel a lot of people get into the space, and let's say the space of content creation, whether they want to do podcasting or something else, and they see it as a job, right? Because now they see it as a means to an end, right? Instead of like, hey, I want to actually have I have a message that I want to share, and I just want to put it out there. But because of the context they're putting it in, now they see it as a job, right? So what would you say to people that, you know, how can we shift their perception and make them think more on creative aspirations instead of just business aspirations?
I don't think that if you're not doing it from a place of the heart and you're only doing it to make money or to have a business, I don't think your chances of success are nearly as much as doing it from a place of passion and creativity. See, I went that route first, and I followed that passion first, and that passion and me following that path opened up additional opportunities, making those relationships with the folks at PodMax, making relationships with those at PodFest, making relationship with those at Podcast Movement. Getting out, getting involved in the community, and following that passion is what made all of the difference in the world.
Yeah.
That and a wonderful wife that's supporting me throughout the whole process.
Absolutely. Applause here for those for the wives. I feel you, man. Like and my wife on my end, like she listens to 0 episodes, right? She's listened to one. McCall Jones. Shout out to McCall, man, because you were able to convince Katie to listen to 1 episode. But without her support, we cannot do this. So I highly encourage, find that one person that is gonna support you no matter what. Because when we start, right, like it's not easy to put our message right from our heads to our mouth to out, right? It's not easy. So I encourage, and this community of podcasting is amazing, right? We met them at PodFest, really, and then with PodMax is incredible, and then the connections that we were able to make there. It serves us as fuel to continue to do it. So that's a very important point that you bring up there.
Absolutely. I mean, is it the community, right? And you just mentioned it right now. And I think a lot of people go into the online space, aka this is exactly what I was thinking in my mind when I came into the space. I was thinking that I would make all the money in the world sitting in the couch in my underwear, eating chips, right? And turns out it's not like that.
Yeah,
like,
thank God he's not in his underwear anymore.
Well, you don't know because you cannot see under the table right now.
I can assure you he's not on his underwear. He has pants on.
But the point is, right, it's like a lot of people think that they don't want to be a part of community, I feel like, at first. But then you feel the need, like the journey gets very, very lonely. And the fact is, community is just gonna help you, right? Like they are lending you a stage to, meet other people with similar interests that all are willing to help each other out. And I think that's one of the strongest points of the podcasting community, honestly. When we went to PodFest this year, we didn't have a podcast, and we were like, wow, this is so cool. Everybody's just willing to help each other out. Everybody wants everybody else to win, which was absolutely amazing. So I'm curious in your journey, right? I'm sure, because right now you're extremely well spoken when you're sharing your message. But was it always like that? Because a lot of people might see, we are used to people comparing themselves to the best of the best, right? Oh, I don't want to start because I'm not that good. And that's a real fear. But they don't see, they don't do the work and look for the first couple of episodes and see like, oh, look at the growth this person has had, right? So I'm curious, how was that growth for you? What was it challenging to express your ideas at first? Was it more of a technical challenge for you? What was it that maybe, made you think about stopping podcasting if there was such a challenge?
There definitely was a time after the comedy podcast was coming to a close. I'd had a co-host the whole time, and I didn't know how I was going to carry forward with a solo show. How am I going to talk to these guests? Where am I going to find these guests? How am I going to learn how to interview people? And it was really a struggle out of the gate. Now, speaking, that's something that I've done for years and years and years, whether it was teaching martial arts or facilitating at the corporate level. I was a corporate level facilitator and trainer for years and years. Yeah. So getting in front of people and speaking, not a big deal. But sitting down, looking in a camera in a room that you're empty, it's all by yourself, and you're talking to that camera like you're carrying on a conversation. Yeah, that is crazy. That's the next level intimidation. I don't know why, but I feel stupid. My wife can hear me from the other room. I'm talking loud. I don't know what I'm looking like on camera, and I'm not exactly the most handsome fellow in the room. So there's all these factors that are coming into play that made that a significant challenge. Yeah. But something that I always tell everybody to do it. And what you're doing, personal development and personal growth need to be a part of it. Yeah. So I don't do anything without a specialist as a coach. I have a podcast coach in David Hooper.
Wow.
He wrote big podcasts.
Awesome.
So he's my podcast coach. I wrote a course. I hired a coach to write the course. I wrote a book. I hired a coach to write the book. That way I know that I'm taking the steps necessary to do what I'm doing and do it properly. That allows me to gain that confidence so that the next time I can come in and I can swing at the ball and hit a home run on my own.
Yeah.
Wow. I love it. And I know you just like touch a few of the strings of my brother's heart right now. He's going to love you even more because he loves that topic of coaching. Right. And that being said, I know he has a lot of things to do. So I'm gonna open the stage for him.
Are you throwing me under the bus, bro? I was just excited. No,
I know you're so excited.
So excited. And you know, I feel like for the last few episodes that like this topic has come up a lot, like the coaching side.
And without us asking, which is the thing, right? Without asking specifically about coaching.
Yeah, and absolutely. And again, another amazing, golden boulder that you just gave us because same thing. Like when we decided to invest in a program, a coach, call it however, like for us was a program, right? With an online coach at first. And it was just like, I'm going to consume this paid content that we paid for because like if it doesn't hurt, like we're not going to pay attention, right? That's what happens with all the free stuff, right? And then we started implementing, we started meeting people in the community, right? Then we started developing these relationships. Then after a while, we're like, oh man, I wonder, we're executing and results are coming. Wow. Yeah. Incredible, right? And then we started investing in something else, and then we invested in our main coach, like a one-on-one or 1-2 small group coach. And then we now like, where's our next coach, right? And I think last interview that we had, who was it? Like six coaches, right? Who?
Michael Johnson.
Michael. Yeah.
6 coaches.
6 coaches, right? Wow. And it's like, man, and he came from a professional dancing environment, right? Like we played soccer, we had coaches all the time. So why is it that in sports, we feel like, we know that we need a coach, but then when we tackle things like this, we're like, oh no, I'm good. I'm gonna, learn from the interwebs, and we're gonna go for that. So again, another massive point. I just wanted to.
I love that point because yesterday I was actually listening to a Tom Bilyeu interview, and he has this saying. He says, "Skills have utility," and I love that, right? And if we start thinking about it, everything in our life is a skill, right? Patience is a skill we got to generate, right? So you can literally have a coach for each one of these things that are gonna, shorten the path to success. And I'm curious, like you mentioned your podcasting coach, and what other ones that you have?
When I wrote my book, I hired an author coach. When I wrote my online course for Udemy, I hired a online coach, an online course coach, someone that does it for a living, someone that's all she does is create online courses. Her and her husband both, they support their entire household on using online courses for Udemy. Wow. So why wouldn't I listen to her and the advice that she can bring to the table? Yes. Why wouldn't I be willing to make a sacrifice of some of the income from that course to invest in my own future? Because not only am I going to learn how to do a course, I'm going to learn how to do some online marketing. Yeah. I'm going to learn how to present myself more clearly. I'm going to learn how to sharpen up my copy when I'm writing copy for content. Yeah. There's so much to learn.
Yeah,
and
so much.
Have a coach, it shortens that learning curve tremendously.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to also make a bridge here because I know most of our audience is entrepreneurs, people wanting to get into the space, but we also have people that are very happy with their current jobs, right? And they look into in these traits to elevate their experience within those jobs, right? Like salespeople or marketing people. Absolutely. Sure. Ask for opportunities to be coached from your employer, right? Like I remember when I was in the fitness industry, that's something that we craved every single week. We're like, who's coaching us? How are we learning more? What do we need to be successful, right? It doesn't mean that because you're in that position, you know everything. And as you level up, right, your organization can level up, your team can level up. So continue to find those opportunities to be coached and learn those skills and improve on those skills, and then move on to the next one and so on. And then it's how do we call it? Is it Alex Hormozzi, skill stacking?
Yeah, skill
stacking, right? And then it's incredible what you can achieve with that. And then the possibilities are endless, right?
I'm curious because with that, obviously, it's there's a cost that comes with that, right? And we like to say it's an investment, but I think that's a perception thing, right? Like at first, we would see all this thing as a cost, and it's like, oh, it's gonna cost us so much money. Now we're like, dude, look at this investment. The possibilities are immense, right? So I'm curious, did you always have that mindset on investment versus cost?
100%. I always look at it as an investment because I am going to grow. Even if I wrote a book and it was a flop, which my book was not, it was a #1 Amazon bestseller.
Let's go.
But I wouldn't have gotten that to that level if it wasn't for the coach.
Yeah.
Wow.
I couldn't have written a book and made it a #1 Amazon bestseller on my own. So sure, it cost me a little bit of cha-ching on the side to get this coach to coach me through the process, but it was so worth it because I would never have been able to perform at that level. I mean, you guys love soccer, and I loved soccer in high school, even though we didn't have the best soccer team. Matter of fact, it was terrible. But I still love playing the game. But if you look at soccer, there are coaches for specific positions. You have your head coach, then you have your defensive coach, then you have your offensive coach, then you probably have positional coaches as well. I assume the goalie probably has some sort of coach. You have your main coach and then all these other specialty coaches to the side. Like I look at David Hooper, he's my top coach. But then my other coaches that come into play underneath, David knows what I'm doing. He knows I'm hiring them, and he appreciates the fact that my skills are being sharpened by each and every one of these as well.
Absolutely.
And it's a clear cut. It can be expensive. It can be painful. You can look at your wife in the eye and go, honey, this investment is so worth it because it's going to make me X. You know, it's going to make me, it's going to put me in a position to do X. And whether the wife understands it or not, once you make that investment, and if you follow through, I think that's where a lot of the mistakes come in. Folks tend to hire coaches, and then they don't follow through. They don't do what the coach tells them. For some reason, people want to pay somebody else money to not do what they tell them to do. It's the weirdest thing. I've never understood that philosophy, but it happens more often than not.
I just had, I just had like this crazy epiphany or idea or like, why do we pay people and then we don't do what they tell us to do? Is college to blame for this? And okay, deep thought, right? And maybe we can
someone doesn't like college.
No, hey, I just want to put it out there. I went to college. I graduated. It gave me wonderful opportunities, met amazing people. But at the same time, you know, we are paying this a ton of money, right, to go to this institution. And we go to classes that we don't really care about, right? Or we're not really passionate about, or we don't even know what we want to do, right? So we don't pay attention. So for the next 4 years of doing this, you're training your mind to maybe not pay attention, right? So then we get out to a corporate level, we get out to try to chase our passion, right? And what's our mind trained to do? To not pay attention to the people that give you information. So, is this a thing? I don't know. Like that's where my point is coming from, because as you were explaining this, I'm like, man, like why do people don't pay attention, right? Like I remember soccer was our passion. We wanted to be professional soccer players, right? So we will go to practice and we will pay attention to our coach. We will do what our coach will say, even though sometimes our dad will scream on the sidelines saying that was not the right thing to do. But anyways, that's a story for a different podcast. We love you, Dad. And then, right, we will go to college. And for me, that was not a passion. So I was just like hanging along because that was the thing I needed to do, right? But what was I doing internally to my mindset? What I was probably training to react very negatively to somebody telling me what to do. So after we left that, for the next 3 years, we're probably not going to put ourselves in that situation again, right? Because we don't enjoy it until the pain was so big that we actually had to invest and execute, right? So now we're training our mind to invest and execute. And guess what? We get results. So a little tangent there, but I thought it was worth mentioning because it was a massive clarity moment for me.
I had a very similar question. What makes people not follow through, right? And I don't know if I see where you're coming from. It's a pretty interesting theory, not gonna lie. Not too long ago, we had a conversation with George Bryant. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he was saying that we need to detach ourselves from the results of our clients, right? Because we are not responsible for their results. We are responsible for giving them the tools and accountability that they need to achieve those results. But at the end of the day, they are the ones putting in the work to achieve their results, right? And that's what I'm seeing. I'm like, where in the timeline did we get used to, if I'm paying for this, I have to get the result, right? Instead of, I'm paying for this as a tool and an accountability and a system that is going to, allow me to reach success easier. But I have to put in the work, right? Where do you see that falling in there?
Well, I think it's all part of the instant gratification that we have been programmed to believe is how everything works. If we want something, we just buy it online. We get it immediately. We have Amazon Prime. We have 2-hour Prime. We have Prime Fresh. You can get everything within just about less than an hour in most cases. And people expect the same thing with other aspects of their lives. But this is a game, and any game you play where it's creative, where you have to create, you have to have the mindset to continue creating, because things don't create themselves. They take artists and they take creators, they take sculptors to manipulate that clay or paint that image or draw or whatever it may be, or even create a podcast. Wow, weird. You have to be able to create, and that means you have to apply yourself beyond just making financial investments and hoping you hit that top 10 podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I think with creation comes resistance, right? Naturally. And I think that's the sign that is a long-term commitment, right? That is not instant gratification. As soon as you hit that resistance and you're like, I don't want to do this, that is probably a sign that you should sit down and focus on that and actually do it, right? How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that resistance? Do you even get resistance when you are about to hop on the podcast?
It's do I get internal resistance? Like I'm like me going to myself, hey man, I really don't want to do this today, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Okay. It's one of the situations where I know, and believe me, I have that. Even though I love doing what we do, I still have those moments where I'm like, oh gosh, I need to do this, or I'd really just like to kick back with a monster and watch a game or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's where so many people make the mistake. And when you put yourself in a position for long-term growth and long-term success, especially to the point where you quit your 21-year career and put yourself in a position to feed yourself, literally, you have to have the strength of mind to get up from your desk, go into the studio, sit down, fire up that microphone, and get busy.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that you have to do, and it's because it's instant accountability.
Yeah.
If I don't do what I'm supposed to do, what I need to do, what I love to do, right? I won't eat. And I mean, look at me. I love to eat. It's just one of those things. So it's not something that I want to mess up. So as long as you can keep that mindset going, then you're in pretty good shape. And, you know, with the podcasting community, you guys have touched on it as well. Such a supportive community. I have yet in the 5 years, and I've been involved in the community for probably about 2.5 or 3. I have yet to come across anyone that is out for themselves, that has said negative things about somebody else behind their back, that has started the rumors of so-and-so. Yeah, they're successful, but they're paying for it or whatever. This community is genuine, and it is so strong, so helpful, and so unique, because again, I've never found this level of support in any other community out there, and I've been involved in quite a few.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's like everybody has their own message, right? Like, and even though the podcast is a channel of communication, right? Like, there's so much stuff out there, right? And people, and that's what we notice, right? People share their tips. They share how to do this thing, and they share like their scripts. They're like everything. All the tools are there available, right? And the only thing from mastering execution is actually doing it, right? Like consistently over time.
Yeah, I think it's like you said earlier on, right? You said personal growth pretty much goes along with the journey, right? It is something that has to happen. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because in literally our second episode that we had a guest, Steve Larson, he said, when I started publishing, it was like someone opened a can of worms, right? Like all my problems, everything just started happening. I started learning and growing. And we experienced the same exact thing, right? It's like, wow, I started talking about these topics that I didn't even know like I could share, right? It was like challenging sometimes, but now I'm putting it out there, and I'm reasoning about it, and I'm coming with my own personal opinions about it, and I'm standing my ground on these opinions that I'm talking about. And I think that as you grow, at the same time, it makes you a little bit more empathetic with people that are going throughout on the same journey. So when you go to these communities, a lot of people has gone through that journey, right? Some are obviously at different levels, but they all can relate. You're going to have some people that you're going to look up to, and you're like, hey, how can I get to that level? And they're going to help you out. And you're going to have people that are going to look up to you and they're going to be like, how do I get to your level? And you're going to be so much more willing to help them, which is absolutely amazing, right? Talk about being in the right environment.
Yeah, it's a very nurturing environment. And everybody that I have come in contact with operates from such a position of gratitude. They're so thankful for the opportunity to do what they do. Believe you me, I'm super thankful that come January 4th, I'm going to be able to podcast full time. What? What is that? That is crazy. So having that is something you have to be grateful for. You have to position yourself as not only a student, but you're also an instructor. You know, I remember when I launched the first podcast, I told my second co-host when Jamie went off to do his comedy, I said, bro, this is a long-term game. I said, I'm talking 5-10 years. It's a long-term game. Yeah. And little did I realize that, guess what? It really is a long-term game.
Yeah.
And it's something that happens overnight. It takes development. It takes practice. It takes failing. It takes stuttering. It takes falling on your face. But in the end, what comes around, the product that you end up becoming, tremendous.
Yeah.
Tremendous. But you can't shortcut it in this game.
Yeah.
And it's the same with any business, really. You can't shortcut anything. It's you do it, you invest the time, you give it your all, and eventually it will grow and it will blossom into what you want it to be.
Yeah.
But there is no instant gratification in podcasting or any other business.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm relating this instant gratification side of the conversation and long-term, you know, victories, let's go that way, that big win that comes with the long-term action. I'm relating it to your journey in martial arts, right? Because you don't start, you know, in, I don't know, what black belt do you have? First of all, like in what martial art?
American Kempo. I'm a second-degree black belt. I have black belts in American Karate and Taekwondo as well.
Ooh. So, AKA badass.
Yeah, don't fight him.
So, you know, like that takes a very long time. You don't start and the next week you have a black belt. It takes years and years of dedication and consistency. Do you think that primed you and your mind to, you know, set the stage for podcasting? And why can people that haven't had that experience in their life do to, you know, transition from instant gratification to long-term, you know, success, action, consistency?
Right. It definitely contributed because the audience loves it.
I know, absolutely.
The audience is wild. This is great.
That was intense.
No, from a martial arts perspective, it's the exact same thing. You can't. And I remember, man, wanting that black belt. And I'm still friends with Stacy Rice to this day. He's a great friend of mine. He was a black belt when I started. And my goal was to beat Stacy. I wanted to beat Stacy. And I can remember being a wee little orange belt, which is only your second rank. And we're sparring one night, and he's letting me go hard. You know, he's like, bring whatever you got.
Yeah.
And he ends up, when he gets tired of messing with me, he axe kicks me in the face and, you know, knocks me down. And the kick didn't, I mean, it hurt, but the kick isn't what led me to slump against the wall and start crying. I slumped against the wall and started crying because I wanted to beat him so bad. And I thought, man, if I learn this, if I understand this distance, if I do this, then I can beat Stacy. But then I realized, man, no, you can't. No, you can't. And then eventually got to a point where we're both black belts and we're both beating the snot out of each other. And that's why we still love each other to this day. And we're best good pals because of the fact that we beat each other up. But that dedication is what it takes to get that black belt. That dedication is what it takes to get a successful podcast, to be able to go out on your own and be an entrepreneur. You have to focus. And if you have a hard time doing that, submerge yourself with other successful people. Attend events like PodFest or PodMax. Get to know people. Establish relationships.
Yeah.
Your growth will grow exponentially faster with the right relationships. And it's the key to everything. You'll get those dream interviews. You'll get those dream speaking opportunities. You'll get those dream clients by building your relationships and investing in yourself and your clients.
Wow. Couldn't have said it any better. Thank you so much, Larry.
I'm typing here how to create your dream environment, right? Because, I mean, we've seen it, right? Like, it happens to us. The second we put ourselves out there, even though we had, like, almost 5 years of experience publishing for others, right? And then the gut punch really came when they asked us, like, I that's beautiful, but like I don't really trust you because you guys are not publishing, right? And we're like, oh man, and people can argue that of like, if you are the coach, you don't need to be doing the thing, like blah blah blah. But for us, it felt really real, right? And it's like internally for us, we're like, how can we be talking about this, right? We can know a ton, we can implement, others can have success, but internally, I feel like for us, it was like we need to do it ourselves too, right? Like we felt it, and for those out there trying to get the publishing going, whatever that looks like, either a podcast, either a video, either YouTube, either minimum viable content, whatever that is, right? Think about this phrase: we get to do this. Like, in what time in history we've been able to communicate with thousands of people, right? One person, two people, 3 people, 10. It doesn't matter. Like,
express your thoughts without being hunted down.
Exactly. Expressing your thoughts. We come from Venezuela, a country that, like, if you express your thoughts, you're going to be hunted down, right? And we live in this amazing country that, as in right now, it seems like we are able to do it. Hopefully we can continue for many, many years. But it's a thing, like the internet allows us to do that, right? So, we don't have to get political. We don't have to get religious, like about your business, about your passion. I mean, there's kids opening stuff from Amazon, creating a life, creating like opportunities for them and their families out of that content that they produce. So why, if we have a business that adds value, solves a problem for somebody else, why are we not doing it consistently and multiplying that message all over the place, right? That's how we feel about publishing once we started implementing it ourselves and we saw the benefits on relationships, on environment, on all those elements that you've been talking about, right? Yeah. So we get to do this, and if you're struggling with that message, just get it out there, right? Larry's the example of this. Like, started as a comedy show, then evolved into the one big win, right? We started with the minimal viable content. It evolved into content is profit. It happens, right? But it didn't happen overnight. It just happened because we started to implement.
Yeah. I'm curious, Larry, like, where are you going now with One Big Win, right? Because, again, you just said you just rebranded about 27 days ago, and you rebranded from Readily Random, was it?
Yes.
Readily Random to One Big Win. So what does that bridge there looks like?
I wanted to take the content that I was presenting and package it in a way that was more attractive to an end user or a listener. When you hear the name Readily Random, which is still my company, my LLC is Readily Random Media, but the podcast has evolved into the One Big Win.
Yeah.
But Readily Random is just a little broad. It's a little, random. And it's like I shot myself in the foot when I started Readily Random, because I made growing the brand and growing the podcast twice as hard. Because in no way does Readily Random say what the show is about. Yeah. What can listeners expect by going to Readily Random and getting that podcast? So I had to sell constantly. Now, don't get me wrong. Just because I have what I feel is a better name in One Big Win doesn't mean I still don't have to sell. But you can look at that name and go, One Big Win. Seems like, it's about winning. It's about finding that life that makes us feel better about ourselves. Yeah. Or as my tagline says, it's taking moments and putting them into motion and taking one step closer to our life mastery. That's the tagline for One Big Win. Readily Random didn't have a tagline. It was just, hey, hi, how y'all doing? We're Readily Random. So again, it's part of the evolutionary process, and I wanted something that people could resonate with, that they could recognize, and simply potentially attract a listener just by the name.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
Yeah. Do you mind repeating the tagline again?
No, not at all. It's moments that we put into motion to take one step closer to our life mastery.
I love it. Yeah.
Motion to mastery.
I love it.
Yes.
That sounds a lot like momentum, right? Like if when you said, I was like, wow, that is like gaining momentum that then it leads to mastery to keep doing all these things, right? How did that come about, right? Like, why exactly that tagline? Also, does it make reference to something that you experienced yourself and that you want to share with others? Or is it something that you saw in the marketplace, if you want to put it that way, the listeners, that they needed that big win, and you're like, let's tackle this issue right here?
Well, the name is very strategic. I wanted to put a number 1 at the front of it for listing purposes. If for some reason a podcast list is in alphabetical order, number 1 is going to be right there at the top. It's an old phone book trick. I learned. I'm 48. I come from the Yellow Pages days.
Golden Boulder, guys. We're going to see, after this episode, we're going to see like 200 shows, like 1111111.
I will be so mad. But the Moments in Motion to Mastery came about because I love alliteration. I like having 3 words in a row that start with the same letter. And I sat and racked my brain trying to come up with something that made sense. And it was all part of actually the naming process as well. When I went to rename the show, I really didn't know what I was going to call it. So I came up with a list of names, probably 25, 30 different names, and started whittling down that list, going, here's my top 10, here's my top 5, here's my top 3. Yeah. And eventually it came down to one big win. And it was input from my coach. There we go. Another function of a coach to help point you in the right direction. Yeah. Rebranding is something that you should take lightly, folks. Yeah. And I'm sure that I had input from my coach and other coaches that I just happened to know. I said, hey, man, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? And I got that feedback and I built on that feedback. And that's what I ended up with as a final product. And I'm pretty stoked about it.
Ah, so good.
We are very stoked about it too.
Yeah, we love it.
You have two listeners in here. And,
I've got 2 listeners at all. That's all. 2 listeners.
That's it. At least in this room where we're sitting,
at least right now.
I don't think we have a live audience today. It's all good.
Larry, the vibe that you give me is that of an action taker. I see that you are I want to go here. What is the action I need to take? And then you immediately start implementing, which is amazing, right? It is personally something that I feel I've lacked at many moments, right? When I'm like, okay, I want to do this. And then I'm like, oh, but first let me do this other activity here, right? And then I start putting my time and effort into something that is not going to move the needle as much, right? So,
but you identify those moments now, and
that is the thing. I'm more aware of it now, so I'm
and you're
starting
taking
to
action.
take
you have
action.
that fancy tracker that you have now.
Yeah, this is a time
thing.
Tracker right here, so I can track my activities.
Yeah.
That was a giant dice from Dungeons and Dragons. You ever played D&D?
I've never,
but it does look like it. Yeah.
I do want to play though. I do. I would love to actually try it out and see what it is, because the whole history behind it I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's very cool. And although I haven't played in years and years and years and years, it'd be kind of nerdy fun for us all to get together and have a podcasting D&D group. That'd be kind of.
Let's go. Hey. We'll be the newbies. They're legit. I don't know anything except the name. So I'm so down.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do. I get Joe Pardo and a couple others involved. I bet we could get some people together.
Hey, I'm writing it down right now. Yeah, I'm gonna follow up on this idea just so you know.
Yeah, and if you're listening now or watching and you want to be a part of this thing, let us know. Are you into Dungeons and Dragons?
Why not? We can do a Twitch stream about it.
Let's do it.
Dude, that would be epic. Do a live D&D game. That would be so that'd be fun, dude. I can't lie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lie.
Again, for the audience out there, we get to do this. This is the class of opportunities. And people play golf and they get business relationships out of it. We play Dungeons and Dragons and we can get relationship out of it. So, it's. I think it was with Mark Stern, right? Mark, he's the box guy, and he creates these amazing experiences and mixes virtual with real stuff, and it's incredible. And he's a gamer too, right? And he's like, man, at the end of the show, he's like, guys, you need to get Quest, Quest 2, right? The virtual reality goggles.
Oh, the Oculus Quest.
Oculus Quest, right? And he's like, man, the last thing that I've been doing is I connect with other entrepreneurs and we go virtual mini golfing, and then they talk business in virtual mini golfing. And I'm like, I came back home. I'm like, why? To Katie, I'm like, Katie, I know what I want for Christmas. I want to do this.
My gosh, that is so brilliant.
Right?
That is brilliant.
It's incredible.
I'm ordering one as soon as we hang up.
There you go.
Yes. Let's each order one, and then we'll do that, and we'll pressure them to develop a D&D, a virtual D&D.
There you go.
Yeah.
We'll be in there playing dragons and talking shop. I was on the podcast the other day while you're blocking.
That would be amazing.
Oh, so good. Well, if somebody in the audience knows the contact to make this happen, let us know. Dude, Larry, thank you so much. It has been awesome. We have a few last couple questions here that are super important. I feel like we need to ask them. We can't
Yeah.
skip him, right, Fonzie?
We cannot
skip him. Okay. You sure? Okay. No, we cannot skip him. We're good?
I mean, it
Can I ask it?
it
Can I
sounds
ask it?
like he's looking for an excuse to skip them.
Never.
Right, Larry?
I'm testing him, man. I'm testing him. Okay. So, Larry, what will be like your number one action point for people that are in this journey to starting to publish, right? They're either beginning, they're in that starting point, like they're struggling a little bit with consistency. What can they do to stay consistent and kill it like you do?
Practice. There's nothing better than doing it. Do it. I just started getting on TikTok. I got like 12 followers. I'm not a big TikToker. Plus, I'm pale and fat and old, and I don't belong on TikTok, dang it. But that's where I'm at. So how am I going to get good at TikTok? I'm just going to do it, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it out there until I get to the point where I feel comfortable creating TikTok videos. There's no shortcut. You have to do it. You can read all the content you want. You can watch or listen to all the podcasts you want. You can watch this podcast right here, right now. But you're not going to get any better at podcasting unless you get on a mic and start recording. Just do it.
Yeah.
Don't care what anybody else thinks. Don't care that you don't sound like whoever your podcast hero is. You don't sound like Joe Rogan. You don't sound like so-and-so. You know what? That is awesome that you don't sound like anyone else.
Yes.
You are you. You are unique. Don't try to be somebody else. Get on there and be who you are and pitch yourself. And that's where you'll find your success.
Oh, so good.
Dude, I think this has been the episode with the most round of applause from people. Man, you got
and horns. You got the horns, man.
You got the crowd going crazy in here.
Oh,
but
insane.
I love that. Pitch yourself. Wow.
Yeah.
What a term. Definitely, I'm not going to say steal it. I'm going to borrow it, and I will definitely give credit every single time I use it. It's amazing.
Yeah. And most of you guys don't have accents like Fonzie and I do. So you guys are golden, man. Like, just go out and do it. Like, yeah. You should have heard our first episode. I feel like I spoke Spanish all day. Anyways,
Yeah, it was rough.
it was rough. Dude, Larry, where would you be if you did not publish?
Where would I be if I wasn't to publish, if I was doing something else?
Yep.
Man, I honestly have no clue. I guess before I came into this and I got buried into, and man, I'm making myself out to be such a super nerd here, but I was really buried into World of Warcraft. And I'm pretty sure I would just still be playing World of Warcraft and just honestly doing nothing if I wasn't creating and publishing. That's where I go when I have nothing else going on. And I hate to think that I would have sat here over the last 5 or 6 years and just played that stupid game over and over and day after day.
Yeah.
But that's all I know of. I don't know that I would be anywhere else because this has been my life for the last 5 or 6 years. It's been everything.
Dude, thank you. Thank you for sharing it. And,
thank you.
And, I resonate with this first because I love watching TV and like consuming content, right? Like you put me in front of like a funny show and like that's it. That's the end of my weekend, right? Like I'll be there. Video games too, like I suck at them, right? I like Spider-Man type of games, like third person, 1-person shooter. Like that's it. Like I don't play.
Fun story, Larry. Before you continue this, so he started playing the new Avengers game, and our whole team, they are gamers, like hardcore gamers, and they love it.
They compete like big gamers.
And my brother is like, guys, I started playing the Avengers. Have you guys played? It's so good. And they were like, it's such a trash game. It's like, it has terrible reviews. It's so bad. And my brother is like, oh, okay, goodbye.
I didn't play for like 3 days. But
it was so funny.
Yeah, I know. I finally, took it back last night. But with that, what I mean is like, before we started to publish, like our company, our job, like what we chose to do, right, was getting pretty taxing. It was being, we were getting really tired, very frustrated at times, right? And in the past year, since we started this show, it's like we get to do this. I'm very excited to, get in and connect with people and continue to develop this framework that we have now with the M2M. And that is the actual product that we do. The way that we create content is the way that the thing that we sell to our amazing partners and clients, right? And it just adds value around it. So same thing, like, man, I don't know if we'll still will have the company because when we started the show, that's what everything changed in March with COVID hitting, right? So that's why I feel so identified with you because other than soccer and consuming funny content and trying to play video games, like I don't really know. Like, I will probably, do my very best at a job, but I don't think I will be truly happy, right? And this platform, doing it with people like you, Larry, like, people like Fonzie here, is truly the thing.
It is gratifying.
It's very gratifying. Yeah, it's something that we're really proud of, right? So when people ask, like, what do you guys do? Oh man, we have this podcast show, and then we put our Larry voice. But it's something that brings pride. So I thank you for sharing that story, man, and to many more episodes. Because
right back at you, fellas.
Awesome,
right
man.
back at you, man. It was great being here. It was a pleasure being here. I had a ton of fun. I think we went through a ton of good, high quality content, and hopefully your audience will get something out of it as well.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
man. Thank you.
I'm gonna throw this out there. We're gonna have to have you for a round 2. Just
Anytime, man. I would love it. This was such a blast that I'd be more than happy to.
Sweet, Larry.
Awesome.
How can people find you? How can people connect with you?
Right now, I'm really looking for TikTok followers.
Let's
so if
go.
you're on the top, head out to the talk at Big Win Pod. That's my social media across every platform at Big Win Pod. Go out there, find me, follow me, and I'll give you some great content each and every day. What I'm doing right now are affirmations. I do 1-minute affirmations every day where I read the affirmation and then we expand on it on the back and I make a video out of it. It's less than 1 minute and it'll make you feel great. So check me out and enjoy the content that I do my best to provide you with.
Dude, okay, so
wait, that's awesome.
can I highlight? You highlight. You go.
No. You
go.
highlight. I was gonna ask what was today's affirmation. I'm curious.
Well, I haven't done it yet, but we can do it. Let's go. And I'm just going to read the front for you.
That's
Yeah.
I release all attachments to judgment. I love and respect myself.
I love it.
So that plays right into what we were saying.
Yep.
Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Don't worry what everybody thinks about you. Commit to your role as a content creator and just create. Everything else will fall into place.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, there you have it.
I love it, Larry. Thank you. And I want to tie that to actually something that I did today. Today, I did an accountability post, and I shared it in my Instagram story that I was starting something that I'm going to call the 1-to-1 rule, which is for pretty much every time I consume content, I have to create something because I would find myself going into Instagram or something and then just scroll and then leaving the phone. But now I have the pressure of, if I scroll, I have to post. If I look into stories, I have to create a story, right? So now when I'm going to grab the phone, it also allows me to think, do I really want to grab the phone right now, right? Because maybe my time, I need to put it into something else. I need to do some work. So do I have the time to actually sit down and create, right? So it's going to help me to slow down my consumption. And at the same time, it's going to help me increase my creation. So I think it goes pretty good with that one that you just said right there. So thank you, Larry.
I did. Thank you.
And you can don't forget to go sign up for the podcast as well. Subscribe on your favorite podcast provider. Head out to Apple or Spotify or Android, whatever it is that you use, and smash that subscribe button on the One Big Win podcast.
Go.
And I'll be your pal.
That's right. We're going to share the links everywhere. Guys, please. I mean, you heard him here. He is absolutely amazing. Go subscribe to his podcast, One Big Win Podcast. I mean, can't say enough,
Can't go wrong.
Yeah.
It's the first one on the phone book. Easy peasy.
The first one, the phone book.
3 yellow pages. That's me.
Yeah.
So,
awesome, guys.
I can't thank you enough.
Absolutely, man. It was a pleasure. And with that being said, thank you so much for tuning into the Content Profit Podcast. Go ahead and subscribe. Hit smash that subscribe button and follow us on social media at BIZBROS Co.
That's right. And if you find this episode impactful, please don't forget to share it and go follow Larry and leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
Bye, guys.